Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. 24 hours till a good old government shutdown. What does it all mean? Well, in this live stream, I'm going to explain to you what a US government shutdown looks like in the financial markets. Now, a lot of people are like, oh my God, what does it all mean? Does it mean everything's going to crash? Historically, the S&P and the NASDAQ gain roughly around 2 to 3% over the duration that the shutdown happens, which is all good, isn't it? I mean, we've had a little bit of flavor to the upside right now on the NASDAQ. I just took this trade, left some money on the table with it, but I wanted to get off because I can't be trading and focusing, speaking to you guys and looking at my trade at the same time because I'm a depth of market trader and I need to be watching what's going on the book. But in this live stream, I'm going to explain to you what you need to be aware of when there is a US or even any government shutdown, primarily the US, because when that shuts down, the world pays attention. So we're going to get into it all. We're going to dive into a little bit of Viva la Bitcoin. You know, what's the story with Bitcoin? Are we going towards the all-time high? Is the bottom in? Like, what's going on? But we've got some very important things to announce as well. Like, they're not giving us the data. That's a problem. So, if you are new, welcome. My name is Tino. You've tuned into Traders Reality. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Yes, he is speaking with top military officials. Mad love moonlit for that. So, let's get with the program. Let's get our trusty little kit right here and break it all down. So, here we go. Gold. I mean, like, oh, well, just to put it into perspective, let me just show you what I was talking about with my trade just a minute ago in NASDAQ. So, didn't really make too much. We made like $1,200. It was around $2,500, but they just pulled back pretty aggressively. And I was like, okay, it's going to go down and recover the vector candle. And if we just bring over that vector candle, that is right here. Okay, so took an exit right at the top side, just around here, just at the start of the brinks in principle, and then they've just made the recovery down. That's the problem with NASDAQ. It always moves up and it moves back down. That's why you've always got to pay yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's the, I'll show you exactly where my entry was just so you guys can get a good idea of what I'm talking about. So here is the actual position itself. So I took the long inside of this range right here on the NASDAQ because I started to see the depth showing me some interesting behavior. We made like there was about 1,450 there, and I copied the trade over to S&P. I didn't copy it. I just placed the trade myself. Put 4 contracts, standard contracts on the minis on the S&P, and I trade the micros on the NASDAQ. And I strongly recommend that anyone, and this is on a personal account, but anyone that trades NASDAQ or futures markets, whether you're doing it in your personal account or if you're trading on any prop firms or anything like that, make sure you are trading the micros, not the minis. You're going to get annihilated. Prop firm trading, it's all about levels that you have to stick within a certain parameter. You can't go beyond this. You can't go beyond that. So just make sure you're using the micros, not the minis, the micros, because it gives you a little bit of freedom. I was using 20 contracts on the minis themselves, on the micros, on the NASDAQ, and I was using 4 on the minis. Okay, and you can appreciate that. Even though S&P did make a little bit of a move up, here we had 1,400 there and then 1,400 over there, but we ended up giving some back because we only made 1,200, but that's me done. I'm not interested in trading today because of the story of this thing with the US government shutdown. Now, let me explain something. You're seeing gold hitting the titles, guys. So let's just quickly go over to gold and understand what's going on over there. Gold, what a run. Up nearly 47%, ladies and gentlemen. It's now pulled back, but this is preparation. Why? Historically, when you get a US government shutdown, people make the mistake of thinking that everything's going to shut down in the US. No. For traders and investors, the one thing that is open is the treasuries. That means you're still earning interest, which is why investors go over to the bonds market whenever there is a shutdown in the US. That is really important to understand. Now, look at where we are right now in regards to macroeconomic data that we're all relying on for the good old interest rate cuts. This is the story we've got. Today, JOLTS job openings report is going to be released. That's going to tell us that the labor market is coming in somewhat soft. That's great news. Conventionally, you don't want the labor market to slow down because it means that Americans are not able to get work or work is not being offered. That naturally means unemployment claim starts to rise, and that's a little bit of a cause for concern. However, in this instance, it's going to give us the idea that the Fed is going to want to cut the interest rates if the labor market sustains itself. Now, the problem that we've got, guys, is the main data that we're waiting for, which is the non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate. It's not going to get released on Friday. That is absolutely shocking. Non-farm payrolls always comes out on the first Friday of every month. Now we're going into October and we're not going to get that data because of this government shutdown story. What does it mean? What does it mean? It means investors are going to start seeking safe havens. Two types of safe havens. You've got commodities and you've also got currencies. Now the currency pairs that you'll be thinking about, usual practice says that it's going to be the yen. Sometimes it's the dollar. However, because of the government shutdown, there's a little bit of a problem with that. Check this out. Going over into assets across the board, gold conventionally always goes up on a government shutdown, right? But because of what's going on right now and that we're relying on interest rates, the fact that we're not getting the data on the Friday might have an impact. If and only if we don't get the government shutdown, gold will take a slump. It will shoot down, okay? Investors, in my opinion, are pricing in the idea that there's a potential shutdown coming into play. So they will go into commodities like gold. This move down, in my opinion, has been designed to bring gold back up on bid. Okay, so they're bidding it and then it's going to release to the upside. Equally, the next asset class is euro. Euro all of a sudden has now started to mark lower. Okay. Now, that could be because there's positioning readjustments. Investors are like, okay, are we getting a government shutdown? Are we not? Nothing's coming in on the wire yet that's saying that we aren't going to get one. However, poly markets are coming into play, suggesting that a 70% chance, it's actually increased now to around 84% chance that we are going to get the actual government shutdown. Okay, but remember, the government shutdown means that you can still earn interest on treasuries, so the markets can still move. But if investors go to the bonds market, the yields go down, but the stock market is dropping, that means investors are looking for low risk. If you do see the stock market climbing and the bonds market climbing, that's good news. It means that the market really doesn't care about shutdowns. Why? Because they are short term. They're not going to stay shut for long. This is just until Congress can come to an agreement about any laws that need to be passed. Well, we've got that story of a problem with Bitcoin, with Donald Trump not passing certain legislative laws coming into play that everybody wants Trump to. It's to do with I believe it's to do with the immigration, but okay, to be honest, it's irrelevant. It's a domestic issue, but it's not going to impact the economy. That's why the markets don't care. Now, question is, what are we getting today? Today, we're getting the JOLTS. The JOLTS job openings report. What does that tell you? JOLTS job opening report, ADP non-farm and non-farm payrolls. Out of the three, you need to focus on the last one, which is non-farm payrolls. JOLTS job openings report somewhat's been scrutinized in the past. Why? Because companies start to make out as if they're doing really good in the company because they're seeking employment for people. And if investors can see that they're looking for people to employ, it means that there's expansion. It means that there's contracts coming in. It means that people are consuming the business, consuming the product. And that means as a trusty investor, I'm like, hold on. I don't want to miss out on the potential of a good increase on earnings per share with this company. They're hiring. I'm going to get involved. But the problem is, the JOLTS job openings report, a study was conducted showing that the majority of the companies that do offer jobs don't even take on anyone. They just want to make it look good for the books and keep the investor enticed to hold onto their stock, which is why today's data that comes out at 3 p.m., whatever the reading is, the market will react to it. But in my opinion, it's not going to be anything that they can really work with. Okay. That being said, we go over into tomorrow, which is going to be the ADP non-farm. That's going to be an interesting one because across both the JOLTS and the ADP, they're expecting contraction. So it looks like the labor market ain't going to be too great. But do not trust the ADP and the JOLTS job openings report. I don't trust them. The data hasn't been consistent. It's all over the spot. Look at this. It's just 2 positive months, and then you get 1 negative, and then it goes up aggressively, down aggressively. It's actually a wild reading. Equally with the employment change itself, look at that. ADP, it's not consistent. It's negative, then a blast out of nowhere, maybe because it's seasonal, that you get more work at that time, but it's not consistent. But the only consistent thing is the non-farm employment change. Why? Because this is what they actually pay attention to, all right? That's important. And that's why the Federal Reserve has now changed its stance and focused now more on employment data rather than inflation, because they're going to accept that inflation is going to be a problem in the future. And we know that that's the case because gold and silver are doing big business. Let's go and have a look at those bad boys. So silver nearly hit our $50 projection, ladies and gentlemen. That is awesome, but I believe they're going to be preparing silver for another rally to the upside, equally with gold as well. Now, given that the euro has been moving up, one important aspect of it is the Japanese yen. Look at that. That bad boy is moving up. Why would they be going over to the Japanese yen? Well, it looks like Bank of Japan, Ueda, he's going to be speaking on Friday, which happens to be brilliant because if he turns around and says that we're going to increase our interest rates and we don't know where we are with the non-farm employment change, that's going to make carry traders a little bit concerned. Carry traders, well, who are carry traders? Carry traders are the guys who borrow yen and then convert it over to dollars to get those dollars and put them into the stock market. But what we're seeing now is a lot of guys are selling their dollars and going over into the yen. So are we witnessing the unwind of the carry at the same time? The safe haven principle of the yen, is that coming into play? Silver is up, gold is up, all right? All commodities are up. Companies in stocks, let's just put this into perspective. Look at all these stocks that are currently making moves to the upside. You got pharmaceuticals, Merus. I mean, what's this? Merus again. Yeah, a medical biochemical company as well. You've got therapeutics again, physical metals, therapeutics, nanobiotics, progress software. Yeah, you got, what was it? Franklin Bitcoin ETFs are coming into play. All right, medicine, again, silver miners, right? Physical silver ETFs and whatnot. So you can see where money's going. It's going into defense-based stocks. It means that investors are hedging themselves. It's like they're preparing for something. What are they preparing for? The fact that we haven't had a recession, or are we in a hidden recession? So what does it all mean, Tino, for Bitcoin? I don't care about your macroeconomic data. I'm not interested in that. I'm only interested in Bitcoin. Okay, let's go and have a look at what Bitcoin does. All right, here we go. So Bitcoin right now is taking a little bit of a tumble to the downside. Yesterday's gains are now yesterday's losses, and the solemns and the nice little violins are all coming out with the idea of, oh, I wish I had paid myself, but I went long over here. Please stop buying at the highest point, ladies and gentlemen. The problem is you're getting lots of people coming out on X saying Bitcoin to 1 million by the end of the quarter four. Bitcoin to this, Bitcoin to that. Everyone's endorsing crypto. Everyone's buying. Bitcoin's not going up. Of course it's not going up because they're buying it as it drops. They want to suppress the price so that they can get it at a good price so that then when the hype's done, everyone's like, oh my God, what's going on? They can start offering it high and then price will then naturally climb up. That's when you'll get your bull run. Altcoins. Bitcoin dominance, ladies and gentlemen, is going to start climbing quite aggressively. You might not like it for your altcoins, but it's going to dominate, in my opinion. This right here is just getting ready to just not go to the moon. It's actually going to go to Uranus, because I found out that Uranus is above the moon, apparently, not below it. But that's for another time. Breaking it down with cryptocurrency and the order flow. So let's get into that flavor right now, ladies and gentlemen. So as it stands right now, we've had a succession of offers coming into play. Offers are when people sell the Bitcoin. Why are they selling it as it's going up? You don't sell when prices go up, do you? You don't sell something of value when prices are rising. I will regurgitate the same shit every day to you all so you can get it in your minds that when price moves up, they are selling. It's the weak hands that are buying into the rallies. You sell the rallies, buy the dips, all right? So why aren't you doing it here? Someone sold yesterday $32.57 million worth of Bitcoin. Congratulations to you, my friend. He saw the price and was like, oh, my days. What is that? Initial order of 1.28 million. So some dude was sat there as a whale and he's thinking, yeah, man, I want to sell Bitcoin at 112,888. Then all of a sudden, some dude came in and planted 32.57 million and sold his Bitcoin. Why? Because everyone started to buy it. This is it. The bull, this and that. Right. Listen, I'm down for Bitcoin to go up. It pays me if Bitcoin goes up. It does. However, you've got to accept that the way the business works is weak hands buy the tops. You need that liquidity. You need someone to transact against your order, because if you don't, the book is broken. You then don't get the luxury of being able to buy and sell Bitcoin at speed. You all going to go open at your charts right now. You're going to press your little button on your mouse. And when you press that button, you want the guarantee that you're going to get a fill, right? That's where your market maker comes in. And all he does is he gets his big pool of liquidity, gets his little trusty algorithm, starts firing these orders, matches liquidity. The second you place a limit order, ladies and gentlemen, there is an order backed to it to match the liquidity. Because where are you going to get your profit from when your positions is making you money? Whose money you taking? You ain't taking Binance. You ain't taking Bybit, BTCC, MEXC, FEMIC. You're not getting none of their liquidity. You're taking the market maker's liquidity because they match their liquidity to yours. Because what are you doing? You're borrowing their money anyway. Leverage, open interest. Let's get to it. Here we go. In front of you, you can see the leverage at the top side of 120K. Optimism is very high in cryptocurrency right now. Now we want to know the proof of the optimism because you've had Bitcoin taking a little bit of a rollover on this big move to the upside. Now, is this the low of the week? This is the question. The only way that we can identify if it is the low of the week, ladies and gentlemen, is to go into the chart and mark off these levels in your chart. Go and highlight the Asian session high and the Asian session low. Okay, that's what you need to do. Just quickly to change this. Go to there. Happy days. That's your Asian session high, and this is your Asian session low. Leave them on the chart. Pay attention to how price. This here, if you leave from this live stream, never come back, please take this. This is your anchor for the week. Because if they do favor higher prices, they will trade away from this zone. What we need to see happening this week, ladies and gentlemen, is the data from the labor market, ADP, and of course, the JOLTS job openings report to come in and show that we are getting weakness in the labor market. Even though the shutdown's going to prevent the non-farm payrolls, which is the main measure for the Federal Reserve on giving us the idea of where we are with interest rates, JOLTS and the ADP are going to give investors a little bit of a catalyst to react to the idea that we're going to get rate cuts. If you go and have a look at where we are with the Fed watch, it's now at 91.4%, all right? To go in at 3.7, 4%, 3.75, 4.4%, for God's sake. Basically, cheaper interest rates, man. Don't even know what the hell is going on with me. Anyways, going back into this before we get into a little bit of news on cryptocurrency, anchor this point, because the idea is that the Asian session high and the Asian session low are two areas in the chart that do act very well as support and resistances. But what it really is, forget support and resistance, look at it as the market's memory. Please look at it as the market's memory, because someone doesn't just buy Bitcoin and never appears again. He doesn't sell the Bitcoin and never appears again. We've got participants actively playing this. You've got algorithms playing the markets continuously. You don't know if there is an algorithm that's got an iceberg order that from the start of October going all the way through to the end of October, it has to dump $500 million worth of Bitcoin purchases into the book. We don't know that. And it's just going to drip feed it slowly and slowly and slowly. It's called the float. They've all got floats. And how much money can they make from that float? They'll buy Bitcoin, they'll sell Bitcoin. At the end of the quarter or the end of the month, they'll say, okay, where's our balance at? Well, we got our $500 million right here. And what did we make on top of it? We made 12%. Congratulations. Let's go and... No, let's not go and do that. Let's not do that. Anyways, you can see I get a little bit, excited when targets get hit. That's how those guys operate. They celebrate. Anyway, do you remember Alameda Research? They recover 500 Bitcoin. And you know what's really cool about this? Courtesy of you guys, right? We all went out and researched Alameda Research before it had all that corruption. And the OGs will know this, right? But do you guys remember the live stream where we pulled up their website for a day and we were talking about it, and we were saying that they were revealing their strategies, their algorithmic strategies, the mean reversion, machine learning, and advanced machine learning, neural networks, whatever that it says that they were doing. But we were all focusing, and it was me trying to verify to you all that as a market maker, because that's what they were, they even used mean reversion as a strategy, okay? Then when we went onto the website a couple of days later, they removed that from their website. It felt as if like they knew that we were talking about them, but no one paid attention. No one gave a damn about Alameda Research. No one thought even market makers existed. Then what happened? Anyway, we won't be talking about that bad boy. Now, with that being said, let's just go and have a look at where we are with the ETF. BlackRock has been up to some business, man. 46 minutes ago, we had 0.00, so basically $15 worth of Bitcoin were purchased. So that basically tells me some dude in his bedroom said, you know what, I'm going to buy this Bitcoin ETF. And there you go. There's your purchase right there. Steve may have bought this Bitcoin. Then BlackRock was like, what the hell is this guy doing? Why is he buying $15 worth of Bitcoin? Let's sell 33 million times 1, 2, 3, 4, man. 1,200 Bitcoin has just left the ETF. Interesting. Prices are up. Bitcoin ETF starts to disappear. Never mind, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, let's get into the stock market, guys. I got some flavor for you. So we know that the medical stocks are doing relatively well. And of course, energy is up there. Now, we just need to understand where we are with the volume and all of that bad boy. Let's have a look at the other stocks that we look at. So, NASDAQ, starting the week off with relatively decent volume, and that's all good. Yesterday's price action on the NASDAQ was volume above average from Friday, but just below average overall on our readings on the 50-day. Going over into the chart itself, and Bitcoin doing very well. Going over to the NASDAQ, you can see NASDAQ is just stalling outside in this range. It's probably because they're all waiting for information regarding the government shutdown. I mean, we've got the high over here. I mean, I want to see it go back into that imbalance, guys. And then you've got this imbalance down here. I know most of you are talking about the story of Bitcoin and the CME gap. Right, listen, it's down there, okay? Puts us at a range between 111,350 and, of course, 110,990. In my honest opinion, if Bitcoin is going to surpass to go down towards this point, because it is always going to be if. That's all it is. No one knows exactly where it's going to go. But what you've got to do is you've got to put yourself and improve the odds that the trade's going to work in your favor by making sure that you're not using too much open interest, too much leverage, and all that madness. Speaking of which, going over and looking at the range. Right now, 111,000 seems to be a point where open interest is coming in. However, problem is it's very light, 600 million. I want to see it up in the 800s, 900s, okay? So they can easily break that range, all right? You've got this little area here, 630 million at 111,732, all right? Now you've got this area which shows 802 million. So people are now looking at this thinking, maybe there's a possibility that Bitcoin is going to surpass this point and continue to the upside. The only way Bitcoin's going to continue up is if the optimism of interest rate cuts is going to come into action. US government shutdown, I doubt is going to impact Bitcoin. Someone did say that Bitcoin did drop 12% over a period of time from the US government shutdown. But back when they did do the shutdown, there was not as much activity on cryptocurrency in comparison to where it is right now. And people make that mistake. They seem to think that when Bitcoin's price is going to rise, they look at where it was back then, and then they look at where we are right now. Bitcoin has more of a reason to go up now in comparison to where we were before, because beforehand we had interest rates high and we had inflation high. Now we're in a position where interest rates are being cut, the prospect of them getting cut in the future, and then there's this rotation among currency pairs and where investors are looking to go in terms of seeking safety. Is Bitcoin the hedge? Well, I believe Bitcoin's only going to be the hedge for the guys in cryptocurrency. We need it to be in Wall Street. And unfortunately, Bitcoin is deemed as high risk. And you're seeing a lot of people selling the idea that Bitcoin's going to keep going. But ultimately, when you've got over 750,000 contracts in the ETF that are made up of Bitcoin, you can appreciate that when they start moving that and investors start to sell it, that's going to have an impact on Bitcoin's price. So when you're going into the chart and looking at it, you're saying to yourself, what are the odds of Bitcoin coming back down to that CME gap? It's simple. Lose the Asian session range, Bitcoin's more than likely going into that CME gap, and that's down to 110,000. That means if they break beyond 113,000, if they break beyond the Asian session range, which is 112,345 on the futures markets, and they then surpass this 110,700, then, ladies and gentlemen, they're just going to eat this liquidity down here at the low side of 110,970 on the futures markets, okay? So just take that into consideration when you are looking at Bitcoin. Solana doing very, very well. Says on the across the board, it does say that we're going to get these ETFs, all right? And I really want to explain to you again the importance of ETFs in cryptocurrency against ETFs that are currently in Wall Street, all right? Remember, Wall Street ETFs are made up of companies, stocks, money markets. That's what they are. And they are money markets that people go to when they are concerned about things. Look at this. In front of you is ETFs right now, okay? The contracts that are coming in and the 30-day flow, all right? Or percentage return, should I say. Just look at what's going on right now. You've got the Vanguard and the iShares S&P 100 ETF. That's always going to be up there. They're always going to be trading those, okay? Then you've got iShares US Equity Factor Rotation. Okay, so when you go into it, you have a look and you say to yourself, well, what does the rotation mean? All you need to do is just go in and have a look at the holdings. What does the holding show? So you've got Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, JP Morgan, Meta Platforms, Google, Cisco Systems, Berkshire Hathaway, and Broadcom. Now, it's primarily made up of tech-based companies. You can see 34% of it is information. Then you've got 17%, which is financials. You've got communication, consumer discretionary, industrials, and what have you. But what's important at the fact that both of them have information technology and financials. What does that mean? You can add financials to the game or in your ETF because during high interest rates, financial companies do really well, all right, because they earn more off interest, all right? Equally, when it comes to recession and all of that stuff, the financial companies tend to still do all right, but there's a lot of rotating happening inside of those companies because people are maneuvering capital and they have to protect themselves. So they're also buying other assets. So when you do find JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and Bank of America declaring that they're doing well on their earnings during bad times, it's because they're earning quite a bit of trading fees, all right, because there's a lot of rotation happening in the marketplace. NASDAQ, what are you doing? NASDAQ's making some movements. Let's go and have a look at what's going on over there. Good thing I got rid of that long. Here we go. Where are we at? NASDAQ. Currently pulling back down a little bit. Bitcoin, what are you going to be doing? Market is now officially open, 30 seconds in, and Bitcoin is doing 54 seconds in, and Bitcoin is doing very well to hold out. We are seeing this disparity right now, guys, where you've got the NASDAQ going down, okay, and then you've got Bitcoin going up, all right? So it's sort of holding out. More importantly, if we go over to the volatility index, that's going down. So when the VIX is going down, the NASDAQ's going down, Bitcoin's going up. What does it all mean? It means they are bidding. It means that they're going down and marking assets low and they're just picking up all those sell orders. Bang, 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 buy, 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 buy. Till they find a point in the chart where it stabilizes and then reverses back up. So important you get the story of bids and offers because without it, you're not going to understand when buyers are coming in, true buyers, and when true sellers are coming in. Capiche? I hope that makes sense, ladies and gentlemen. Any questions? Any questions? Much appreciated. Tina lost a bet. I didn't lose a bet. I just shaved my hair. That's it. That's it, man. I just shaved my hair. Could you show us some good humanoid robotic company? Look, for anyone that's involved in the robotic game, okay, there's an ETF, iShares ETF. Where is it? Hold on, let me just bring it up for you, iShares. Look, start off here, man. All right? Always start off with an ETF. Okay? Yeah, it's a little bit expensive to fund. Okay? But rather than going into a single company, go into an ETF because it's based on the technology that these guys offer. Okay? And you really want to start diving into robotics, then start looking at companies that provide it. Okay, just Google robotic companies, all right, listed on the US stock market, and then do your due diligence, all right? Investigate, sign up to their newsletter, look at their quarterly earnings. What's their volume like on an everyday basis? What's their cash flow? What's their earnings per share? Have they had accelerated earnings over the last few quarters and what have you? Okay, so just take that into consideration, okay? Cool. Bitcoin seems to be holding out, ladies and gentlemen. Other than that, market open, dump it. Tino, can you please look at Asta? Let's have a look at Asta. Let's have a look at bad boy. I know that's been making some movements. Here we go. So, okay. Yep, always going to give it back. It's always going to give it back. Yeah. Dominance going up. This is going to give it back, in my opinion. It's going to come down. So just take that into consideration, especially after such an aggressive move to the upside. Such an aggressive move. NASDAQ, I love you so much. Anyways, other than that, thank you very much. Thank you. Can we have a look at Circle? Yes, let's have a look at Circle. Let's go over here and look at Circle for a second. See where we are with that. Not bad. Not bad. Up 1.61%. I think this is the bottom for Circle. I really do think it is. Because volume just tapered away over here. And any signs of selling over here, when you've got these pink distribution bars, they are equally met with positive volume. We've only had one volume bar that shows distribution above the average. The rest of it has been below, so that tells me it's light. Okay, so not really too concerned about that. Strength is coming into play. The average daily volume was only 11 million, but overall 31 billion dollars market cap. It's increasing, went from 24 up to 31. That's great news for me. So I'm cool with that. Quickly just go and have a look at bullish for a second because I need to be paying attention to that. NASDAQ is just taking a shoe bag to the downside. It's just bleeding out. This is wonderful. The reversal is going to be phenomenal on NASDAQ. $63, up 0.73% for the day. Relative strength is really poor on this right now, but it's just a new company. So give them a chance to just bring that flavor. Let's quickly go back into Bitcoin, see what it's doing. Seems to be holding out relatively well. There's that rotation coming into play. NASDAQ doing that big drop, man. It's always going to do that. Can you look at Casper? Casper. What does Casper do for me? Casper. Again, Bitcoin dominance is moving up, guys. This is bleeding out. It's been on a low trajectory. Yeah, I'm expecting Casper to probably come down here around the 0.068922. It's an imbalance down there. They've just already finalized this one. They're about to sweep that. Unless there is a magical thing about the altcoin starting to move up. Okay, cool. But unfortunately, Bitcoin dominance is showing strength from these levels. So just take that into consideration, ladies and gentlemen, when you are playing it. Okay. News in 25 minutes. Yes, news is in 25 minutes. If the JOLTS job opens report comes in, which they're expecting it to come in soft anyway, they think it's going to be soft. Logic says that we should be expecting the NASDAQ to try and make a little bit of a reversal. So just take that into consideration. Bitcoin's holding out well with this NASDAQ move, which tells you that they're bidding to the downside to try and make the move come back up. How do you finalize your trade direction before you get in a direction? You'll never know exactly when to get in. And also what helps you is understanding overall that what's going on in the asset class. Have a look at where you are overall in the macroeconomic data. It doesn't mean if you go and look at job data and be like, that was negative, this is positive. Macroeconomic data is not about focusing on the statistics of the data. You've got to look at the idea of what people think about the data. That's macroeconomic data, all right? Because you can make the mistake of thinking, oh, okay, cool. Here's an example. If you go back to this, you'll look at this and say to yourself, unemployment claims have come in higher. Okay, lower, all right? That's great news for the unemployment market. GDP has come in at 3.8%. That's great news for the economy. Core price index came in at 0.2% in line with expectations. If you look at it for what the numbers are, you'll then be misled. Why? Because we are driven by a monetary policy adjustment, which is interest rate cuts. All right? The better the data, the worse chance we have at getting interest rate cuts. The worse the data, the better chance we get at rate cuts. That's why everything goes up on bad news and everything comes down on good news. Because we need rate cuts. And the only way we can get rate cuts is if there's weakness in the economy. We haven't got weakness in the economy. It's all about what people think. Okay? Cool. NASDAQ. Wonderful that you're dropping. So that only means gold should be going up as the hedge. Where are we? Where's gold? Well, of course. Of course you're moving up. NASDAQ. Wonderful play. Wonderful play. Do you ever think if we end September green for Bitcoin, we will see a red October? It doesn't matter. It's about what we think right now about interest rates. That's what's important. It's where investors think we are with interest rates. And if they don't think we're going to get rate cuts, I know all you need to do is just go over to the yields market. Do you think we're going to get rate cuts? I mean, currently market is trading at 3.6% on the 2-year, 5 years coming in at 3.72, 10 years coming in negative at 0.29, 30-year coming in at 0.11. They're going into the bonds because of the idea of the the US government shutdown. 10-year futures markets are trading positive. The volatility index is trading positive. Well, it's coming back down now. So what they are only doing right now is just bidding the market, because who on earth is going to be buying at high prices? They'll bring the market down in the morning, which is what they're doing now. The logic says that we would naturally expect NASDAQ to try and make a reversal back up. That's the principle. Go and have a look at the vectors. Have a look. That is wonderful. That is brilliant. And if it does continue to go down, it continues to go down. But I know they're leaving a footprint for me to trade into later on. So just let them do their thing. I'll come to the charts later on if I've got the time and I see the play. If I see a 4-hour stopping volume candle forming, I'm getting ready to trade that. Go long to see the recovery of the red vector. Tried to capture it over here. Didn't appear. Never mind. But here, with data that's coming out, awesome. We'll get ready for it. Trading copper. What time are we on? Shoot, I've got to hurry up. Okay, copper, 4.86%. And of course, they come back into the high of when Donald Trump said he was going to put the cap on it. But you're going to see commodities going up, guys. You will. You really will see commodities. Gas is going up. Yeah, man, natural gas. I swear we did say a price projection for gas, didn't we not? We said it was going to be going up. Yeah, they've done it. Have a look at Tesla. Doing fine up there. Nvidia. Look at that, man. Through all the chaos and all the madness, China banning it from selling this, selling that, revenue's going to be hit, still trading at and towards its all-time highs. When this breaks out, it's going to rip even further to the upside, ladies and gentlemen. So that's happy days. Silver is taking a little bit of a pullback, guys, and of course platinum as well. But look, this is clear as day investors, man. They're going into safety assets because of what's going on with the economy and the US government shutdown. Tina, I heard something about the Federal Reserve tightening overall budget in February 2026. Yeah, it would only make sense for them to tighten the budget in 2026 because they're effectively releasing the liquidity. They've been borrowing money so much. Remember, they increased the US debt ceiling. They increased the debt ceiling. All right. So naturally, they've got to try and scale back a little bit and stop spending so much money. They spent last month $374 billion, which was 7% more on their GDP. All right. They didn't earn nothing on that. They spent $374 billion more than what they earned. That is terrible. All right. Remember, the US itself, every dollar that it earns, it owes 123% right now. It was 126, but it's 123% on top. Like, that is wild. Unbelievable. Anyways, if you are new and you pass by, go to tradersreality.com. You get to see my lovely bald head in perfect HD. And if you're not part of the Discord, go check it out. It's free and you can get the indicators and you can watch this video, use the indicators, download them here. It takes you straight to TradingView. And of course, you want to become Platinum member where you get trade setups and what have you. Just go to the memberships tab on the join section and you'll be able to check more about that on the Traders Reality website. All right, cool. With that being said, mad love and respect, trade safely and keep an eye out because the news is going to be out in 20 minutes. All right, sell XRP as well. I mean, just say that just to finish the live. All right, cool. But really, you should sell him as a piece of shit.